Yaakov marries Leah, and then Yaakov marries Rachel. That's where we got to yesterday. Okay, we got a lot to cover today, so let's go on. Now, in page 152, Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Page 152, Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Vayar Hashem, it's about seven lines down. Vayar Hashem kisnua Leah. Literally, it means Hashem saw that Leah was hated. Vayiftach es rachma, he opens up her womb. V'rochel akara, Rachel was barren. A womb is called a rechem. A womb is called a rechem. If you switch around the letters of rechem, so I heard once from Rabbi Tatz, he said the letters of rechem switched around spell machar. Machar means the future. It means the womb, a woman's womb carries the future, carries the children. So rechem, and it's also rechem is the Hebrew word rachem, which is mercy, which obviously a mother has that compassion for her child. So Leah, it says, Hashem says Leah sees Leah is hated. Now, according to the Mefarshim, first of all, if you see Rashi says, where's the other Rashi? Rashi said snua that Leah hated. I'm getting mixed up now. But whatever it is, the Mefarshim say that you'll notice it says Hashem saw that Leah was hated. That means and hated doesn't mean, according to the Mefarshim, it just means she wasn't loved as much as Rachel. And it was so subtle. Remember, Yaakov Avinu kept the entire Torah. And to keep part of the Torah is that a man has to love his wife as much as himself and respect her even more than himself, which itself needs an explanation why there's a different degree of love and respect. The Gemara says, "Ohava kegufo umechabda yoser megufo." A man has to love his wife as much as himself and respect her even more than himself. And the reason is because when it comes to love, we all love ourselves. And we all take care of ourselves very well. If a man takes care of his wife's material, physical needs as well as he takes care of his own, he's doing very well. When it comes to respect, there's a different level because of the emotional makeup. Men are able to speak to each other a certain way. Men are generally, there's a certain banter among men. There's generally some sort of competition. There's some sort of, when you see a friend of yours, the first thing is like a sharp little insult or something, a jokey insult. That's how men deal with each other. Women, their communication, first of all, women, one of the big differences, it's very important to know this when you get married, especially if you didn't have sisters like me. And I got completely clueless when I got married. But women talk about feelings. Men talk about things. How much did it cost? Where did you get the car? What kind of car do you drive? Women talk about, I feel so good about my car. They feel, and I felt so bad yesterday because they always talk about how they felt. And men, I don't remember seeing anybody here when you guys talk to each other. I don't remember seeing anybody go say, "Oh, I felt so bad yesterday." I never, all I hear is things, stuff. What did you eat? "Oh, I felt so bad yesterday." None of that. So you have to learn that her needs, her emotional needs, part of it is to be respected. So, for example, a wife, when you talk to your wife, you have to be looking at her. She expects you to full concentration. When guys talk to each other, we can sit back to back like this and have a conversation. "Yo, Alicia, what's going on?" He's not insulted because that's just what we do. And he appreciates the fact that if I'm already sitting like this, I'm not going to expand the unnecessary energy. Men are very big on conserving energy. And I'm not going to expand the necessary energy to turn around and look at him. And he expects that, and I expect the same from him. The problem is that when you take one of this species and one of the other species, and you put them together in a cage, things are different. It's like the wife who said, "So there." And now this thing got unattached. See? Life has been a long, bitter gullus, gentlemen. It's like the wife who says to her husband, wife's talking, she says, Harold, you're not listening to me. He says, I hear every word you say, Marla, you're not listening with your eyes. Oh, well, that's what eyes are for. I thought eyes are for looking. No, eyes are for listening. You gotta, really? Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know. That's, and you have to understand that the respect, the thing you say to a friend, you can't say to your wife. You can't shake, your friend, if you got a friend, makes you a meal, you go to your friend's house and he serves you some food and you can say to your friend, what, are you trying to poison me? Everybody has a good laugh. If your wife serves you food, what, are you trying to poison me? And she's not amused. And you're like, what went wrong over here? And the answer is that they need a different level of respect. And that's why the Gemara says, you have to love her as much as yourself and respect her more than yourself. Because I don't need that. I don't need you to look at me. But she needs it. And looking at somebody is a demonstration of respect. Not interrupting somebody when they talk is respectful. The most sure sign of disrespect is to cut somebody off when they're talking. And a husband has to know that when your wife is talking, you don't interrupt in the middle. And I want to tell you something. It ain't easy. I had a guy once came up to, a guy once said to me, I gave a talk to some young guys who had just gotten married. They had been married a few months. And I said, listen, when your wife talks, don't interrupt. It's not hard. If you hear her voice, don't speak. So one of the guys comes over to me afterwards. He's got kind of a dazed look on his face. He goes, Rabbi, when my wife gets going, she could really go on for a while. So I smiled and I said to the guy, number one, that's just too bad, right? You're going to have to do it anyway. And number two, you could go on for a while also. Right? And when you talk and you spew out your wisdom, you expect her to just listen and look at you with awe and admiration and expect and just be thrilled to hear what you have to say. So don't give me the business. Do me a favor, Dan, close that door. The what do you call it? So that's the first thing. Now, a wife who doesn't feel loved completely, it's very extreme. Vayar Hashem kisnu Leah. First of all, it was so subtle, only Hashem saw it. And number two, even from Leah's point of view, if she's not loved as much, then she feels hated. That's how women work. And it's a very important thing to know in marriage. Marriage is rarely parv. Marriage is rarely parv. It's either very good, and it goes from good to bad very quickly. It's very extreme. If you're either upset, you're very happy, or she's upset. It's very, very rarely that it's parv. And it's a very important thing to know, number one. Number two, by the way, just watch how women communicate, how men communicate with each other. Watch how, and I told you, men sit back to back, and men can sit back to back for hours and talk. True or not true? And women, when they talk, you notice, first of all, their faces are usually about 3 inches from each other. They're like this, and they kind of move their heads in sync with each other. And all you hear them saying, they're like, oh, me too, oh, 100%, oh, I know what you mean, oh, yeah, that's how they're sharing. That's their big word. They share. Men, you could talk, and I say, oh, you're wrong, you're crazy. What are you talking about? That's how men, and those are best friends. Now, the problem is you can't say that to your wife. You can't say that to your wife. You have to know that. By the way, it may sound amusing, but you should pay me for this. Cash. Kaplan, Kaplan on the checks. You should pay me for this. Because I have a rule at my Shabbos table. When my wife says something at the Shabbos table, no matter what she says, she's not wrong. No matter what she says, she's right. So, for instance, we're talking about like the Chafetz Chaim. I think we're talking about the Chafetz Chaim. My wife would say something like, she had never did. I'm just using an extreme example. Let's say I would talk about the Chafetz Chaim, and my wife would say, it wasn't the Chafetz Chaim a Kohen Gadol? So I would say, if that's what she would say, my reaction would be, you're 100% right. If the Beis Hamikdash was standing today, the Chafetz Chaim would probably be the Kohen Gadol. And you should know, my kids have seen me over the years do this, because my wife has even picked up, I'll say something like, Mommy's right, because my wife will say, no, I wasn't right. I was so wrong. She even picked it up, but she likes it. The women like it. At the end of the day, they see, because the wife is always testing her husband. For a wife, let's say a wife buys something new. She buys a new picture. And you come into the house. Now, your wife knows, my wife knows that I care about a picture as much as I care about the topography in Afghanistan. Right? She knows that. But if I walk into it and I say, wow, that's a really nice new picture. Wow, wow, that's something. She knows what she appreciates is the fact that she realizes I'm trying to make her happy. That's what they need. They need to see that you're making, yeah, you don't care. She knows you don't care. But you care that she cares. That's what she wants to see. And then you say, wow, that is a nice picture. Well, we've had that one for 4 years. That's the one I'm talking about. That's the new one. Yeah, no. I was just looking at, I needed a point of reference, in order to compare, and bail out one way. But it's okay. You did good simply by showing that you're trying to show interest in her world. That's the rule. Now, let's go on. So what happens? Vayara Hashem kisnu alev vayiftach es rachma v'rachel hakora. He gives her a child. And why does he give her the child? So we said yesterday because Leah has already davened. Now, one of the things the Medrash says is she tried to make herself as unattractive as possible before she was married so that she wouldn't get married to Esav. And as a reward for trying to make herself unattractive, HaKadosh Baruch Hu rewards her and he gives her a child, number one. Number two, you see that Vayiftach es Rachma, he opened her womb, means she was meant to be barren also. So why were they all meant to be barren? So we spoke about that, but there's another idea, which is that the foundation of the Jewish people, Yitzchak, Yaakov, all of the tribes, the foundation of Klal Yisrael should be clear that we are above nature, that the continuity of Klal Yisrael, that the existence of Jewish people, that we are above nature. Maybe we could open that window a little bit because this one we got to close because of the. Okay, so Rachel starts having children one after the other, and then after her fourth child, if you look at the bottom of page 152, Vatera Rachel kilo yolda leYaakov. Rachel saw that she had not given birth. Vatekane Rachel ba'achosa. Rachel is jealous of her sister. Vatomer el Yaakov havoli banim, give me children, v'im ayin mesa anochi. If not, I'm going to die. Or I'm as good as dead. I'm as good as dead. So we learn two things from here. The first thing we learn here is, even Rachel imenu, I once spoke to somebody about a certain situation, and we were going through a hard time, and he said to me, Vatekane Rachel ba'achos is a pasuk in the Torah. Sometimes we're jealous, and jealousy is probably the hardest trait to overcome. And you have to realize Rachel was jealous. And obviously it's Rachel imenu at her level, and it's something that beyond our comprehension, but the Torah says the words Rachel was jealous. So if a person is jealous, don't eat yourself up. We have to learn how to deal with jealousy. But don't eat yourself up if you're jealous, because it's human nature is to look at what other people have. We have to work on that, and we have to work on trusting God and understand that God deals the cards a certain way, and everybody gets what they're supposed to deserve. There's the whole philosophical approach. But you can't eat yourself up if you feel the jealousy. You should not eat yourself up with it, because it is a normal human thing. We have to work on how to overcome it. But that we feel it is very, very normal. Number one. Number two, Rachel says, if not, I'm dead. And the Gemara says, we see from here, there are 4 people, the Gemara says, that are considered as if they're dead. 4 people are considered as if they're dead. A blind person, a person without children, somebody who has got saras, leprosy, and a poor man. They are considered as if they're dead. And they're based on various psukim in the Torah. So Rachel says, if I don't have children, I'm as good as dead. Somebody had a question. Yes, so I'll go ahead.
Why do all of the 4 mothers struggle, or apart from Leah, but why do they all struggle giving birth? Why are they all...
So that's why I said, Leah also by natural law could not have children. And the idea is that the fact that they had children is beyond nature.
Right.
So that's for the Jewish people that we should be seen as existing in our existence as beyond nature, where by rights we shouldn't be here. But the odds have always been stacked heavily against us, and the fact that we've survived is clearly because we're living at the 8th level. That we're living at that level beyond nature. Really, we should not be here. By rights, we shouldn't be here. Now, Ruvain goes, yeah, go ahead, Alicia.
Why Why did Leah think she had to marry Esau when Esau?
That's what all the tabloids were saying. All the tabloids, the rumor mongers, everybody said, well, they got two kids. One, the older for the older, the younger for the younger.
But it tells us in the text, Esau married
that's okay. He
also married Canaanite.
Yeah, so he's got no limits. He has no limits. No problem. Now, take a look at page 156. He could marry more. He had 3 wives. He could marry a 4th. Not a problem. Yaakov married 4 wives. Okay. Now, take a look on page 156. Leah has 6 children. And then, if you go down the page, on page 156, Leah has 6 children. And then, after she calls him Zevulun, and then on Pasuk Chafal it says, V'achar yolda bas. She had a daughter. Vatikra eshemo Dina. She named her Dina. Now, the Gemara says that the word Dina obviously comes from din, from judgment. And the Gemara says that Leah made a judgment. She knew, they were all prophets, they knew that Yaakov was going to have 12 tribes. And Leah has 6, each of the maidservants has 2. And if she has a 7th one, that means Rachel will have a maximum of 1. She won't even be at the same level as the maidservants. So Leah davened that the child should turn into a girl. Now, we learn from here a very important halacha. It has halachic ramifications. When a wife gets pregnant, a man may daven for the gender of the child. They daven they should have a boy up until 40 days after conception.
What's conception?
When she gets pregnant. Up to 40 days from the point she gets pregnant, you can daven for it. Once it's 40 days, it's a fait accompli. At that point, you can't daven that it should be a son, because then it's davening for is what's called a wasted tefillah, because it's like davening that, this bookcase should turn into a horse, because I need to gallop home, right? It's not going to, you're davening for a miracle. You can't daven for that. And if the Gemara says Hillel was once walking and he heard a yell coming from, let's say you're walking towards your house. A modern day example would be a person's walking towards us, sees an ambulance going in that direction. And he davens, please whatever the trouble is, let it not be from my family. That's a false tefillah. Either it is or it isn't. It's a fait accompli already. You could daven in advance that your family should stay healthy. But once you see the ambulance and he's obviously on his way because there's a call, to daven at that point is a false, it's what's called a tefillah shov, because it's a fait accompli. Either it is or it isn't. So what are you davening for? Leah, the Gemara says, Leah davened even towards the end of the pregnancy when she realized that Rachel will, if it's a boy, that's good. And it was at the end of the pregnancy that Dina was reversed. And Dina was conceived as a male and turned into a female so that Rachel could then have who? Yosef and Binyamin. Now, what's interesting is later on we're going to see what happens the next week's Parsha. What happens to Dina? She goes out and is violated. Why did Dina go out if the tendency and the nature of Jewish girls is to stay in? Kol kvuda bas melech tima. A frum woman, a frum girl stays inside. Sneas means you're not out in public. The answer is that she was conceived as a male. A male is one who goes outside, and therefore with that tendency that she was conceived as a male, so that's why she goes out into Shechem, and eventually, hold the questions for a few minutes, Alicia, okay? I just want to cover a few things, and we'll take the question. I'm just telling you some ideas here, think about them, and then you'll ask the questions later. Now, so, Vayizkar Elokim es Rachel, God remembers Rachel. Vayishma Ileh Elokim Vayiftach es Rachman. Now I'm going to tell you something that's a potential life changer. Hashem remembered Rachel. Take a look at Rashi. Right column, 4 lines from the bottom. This is a life changer, gentlemen. Vayizkar Elokim es Rachel. What did he remember? 4 lines from the bottom, right column. Zochar lo, he remembered Shebasra Simanim Leachosa. He remembered that she gave the signs to her sister when Leah went in. Now, let's go back. Let's roll back the clock a little bit. That incident took place 14 years earlier. 14 years earlier, that Leah got married 14 years before Rachel had a child. Now, what if Rachel wouldn't have given Leah the simanim? she would have gotten married, she would have been barren, and she would never have had children. So at the point that she gave Leah away, it looks like she's doing something that's going to actually cost her. And in the end, what actually happens? As a result, she gains from it. And we see from here that in life, when you're willing to give and you're willing to sacrifice, you don't lose out. One way or another, at some point, there's going to be a payback. At some point in life, you're going to get. Had Rachel not given the simanim, she would have married Yaakov. We don't know that she would have had children at all. She was barren. She didn't have the merit necessary to yes, have children. And therefore, by giving it away 14 years earlier, it takes time, but eventually there's some sort of payback. In life, you see that all the time. There's a woman. Alicia, really hold for till about 10 minutes before the end, because I want to get through some stuff. There was a woman that she was in the house, and she had a bunch of stuff on the stove, and she had like a 2-year-old child toddling around the house, and she saw the mailman coming. She walked out of the house to get some packages from the car or something. By the time she got back to the door had slammed shut, and it was locked. Now she's got a 2-year-old toddler in the house with an oven full of stuff, and and she's frantically pushing on the door, and she doesn't have her phone. She doesn't know what to do. And just then the mailman showed up, and he's handing her something, and she's like, "Not now! I got to get my daughter. My daughter's in there with the." And the mailman said, "Well, lady, I got to go." And he gives her the envelope. She just kind of grabs the envelope. She grabs the envelope. It kind of tears. And a key falls out of the envelope right onto the ground, and it's the key to the front door. So she opens up the front door and goes into the house. Then she opens up the envelope, and it's a note from a guest that they had 6 weeks earlier. "Hi, I was a guest in your house, and we I accidentally took the key. I hope I didn't inconvenience you by So you see that when you invest, one way or another, it's going to come back. One way or another, HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays back. There's a pasuk that says, "Shlach lachmecha al hamayim," cast your bread on the waters. Ki berov yamim timtzana. In the course of time, you're going to find it. One way or another, you invest, and one way or another, it's going to come back. That's the first lesson here. Now, take a look at Yaakov then appeals to Lavan. Oh, sorry. First, let's go. Vatahar, pasuk Chav Gimel. Vayizkar Elokim es Rachel, vayishma Elokim, vayiftach es Rachma. He opens her womb. Vatahar vateled ben. She gives birth to a son. Vatomer Asaf Elokim es cherpasi. She has. How does he translate it in the art? So, taken away my disgrace. Oh, very good. God has taken away, perfect. God has taken away my disgrace because she has a child. What disgrace? Take a look at an interesting Rashi here. Rashi says it's the left column of Rashi on 156, left column, 4 lines from the top. What does it mean it took away her disgrace? Medrash Agada, the Medrash says, Kol zman she'ein le'isha ben. You're going to laugh when you see this. Well, as long as a woman does not have a son, a child, ein la b'mi litlos sirchona. She has nobody to blame when she messes up. Mi sheyesh la ben. Once she has a son, tolabo. She blames him. Mi shavar klizef. A man comes and he says, "Hey, who broke this thing?" Bincha, your son. Mi yachal teinim. Hey, who ate the figs? Bincha, your son. Your wife has somebody to shift the blame to. So I think that's the plain meaning of the medrash. Wife says she's worried her husband's going to yell at her, get upset with her. That's the plain meaning of the medrash. I think there might be a slightly different meaning here. She's not really blaming the son. She's just changing the subject. I said, "Hey, who had the last piece of arm leg pie?" Your son did something so clever today. Really, what did he do? That sort of thing. Bina, who ate this? Bincha, your son. That sort of thing. So that's the first thing. But then it says like this. Look at the next part. This is very strange. Vatikra Shemo Yosef. She names him Yosef. Lamor. Yosef Hashem li ben acher. Hashem should give me another son. Anything bother you about that? You find anything strange about that?
Give me another son after
What's strange about that?
Well, she's basically saying, well, this, I prayed and read this, but it's not good enough. I need more.
There you go. I mean, it is something like this. She should get up and she should say, "Thank you, Rabbi, please, 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 thank you." She has a son, the long-awaited son, and the son is born. Says, "Oh, can I have another one?" You should know, by the way, there are many women where they have a lot of children. They give birth from women. They give birth. The first thought after birth is, when am I going to have another one? It's an amazing thing. I knew a woman who had 11 children, and then she had what's called an ectopic pregnancy. An ectopic pregnancy is where the fertilized egg does not make it out of the fallopian tubes. It stays in the fallopian tubes, and then it starts to expand. Now, first of all, it's excruciating pain, and it's extremely dangerous. It's an emergency surgery. And when they take out, sometimes they have to take out, sometimes they could draw it out, but sometimes they have to take out the entire fallopian tube, I think. And what happens is it reduces her chances of having children by half. Because each month, based on the cycle, the egg goes down through one of the other tubes. So once that tube is taken away, so then her chance of getting pregnant is only every other month. So I knew a woman who had 11 children, and she had an ectopic pregnancy, and she was devastated. She was devastated about that, limiting the chances for more children, after with 11 children. So here, Rachel she's got this long-awaited child, and at first I thought, wow, instead of saying thank you, which Leah did when she had Yehuda, she named him Yehuda because she expresses her gratitude to God for the fourth son. Rachel has her first son, and the first thing is, Hashem, she had me another son. So, have you ever been at a siyum when somebody makes a siyum? So what is it in that prayer we say after the siyum? What does a person say? They say, please Hashem, help me to finish more masechtas. Right? Why? Because we understand that what I learned is only a stepping stone in my growth. And I'm using that learning to grow, so now I want more masechtas so I can grow even more. What is a mother, how does Rachel see Yosef? She doesn't just see him as, look at the little baby. She sees Yosef as a stepping stone for growth. And so she's saying to Hashem, please, I want more growth. I want more growth. It's not just that I want another baby. I want more growth. I want to be a participant in the building of the Jewish people for the spiritual reasons, for ruchni reasons. And therefore she immediately asked for another child. Now, I want to show you two more points. On the top of page 158, we've pointed this out before. Yaakov says to Lavan, okay, it's time for me to go. And I need to earn some money now. I've been working for you for the last 14 years. I need to earn my keep now for myself. So Lavan says to Yaakov, look, I know, top of page 158. Ve'omer lav Lavan, im navatzasi chen beinecha nichashti ve'ercheni Hashem bigdalecha. And Lavan says, listen, I know through divination, the article translated, with whatever various superstitious means that he's resorted to, he says to Yaakov, I know Hashem has blessed me on your account. Vayomar nokva schorcha olai ve'etena. So Lavan says to Yaakov, name your price. Name your price. And then we have this episode where Yaakov Avinu and Lavan make a deal, and Yaakov takes all of the sickly and broken and sickly cattle, and miraculously the cattle increases. And the Medrash says that he had 600,000 dogs to you know how shepherds have a dog that runs with the sheep? Yeah. He had 600,000 dogs for 600,000 flocks of sheep. Oh, that's a lot. Yaakov Avinu had it turned into a massive amount of merchandise that Yaakov, of sheep that Yaakov miraculously developed. Okay. Well, look what Lavan says. Lavan says, Vayomar nokva schorcha olai ve'etena. Set your price. What do you see in the word nakva? Same letters as what? Nekeva, which is a female. It's a female. What's the connection between let's set a price and a female? What's the connection? What's that?
He thinks he wants another woman.
No. No.
Female produces a lot more, no?
Okay, well, what's nakva? Let's set a price. That means the difference between, what is the numerical, a man is a zachar, right? Zachar, what's the numerical value of zachar? Zayin is 7, chaf is 20, reish is 200, 227, the same numerical value as bracha. A male is bracha. A female is nekeva, right? Now, the word nekeva, ekov, it comes from the word to curse. So what is the bracha? A bracha means something expands. There's more of it. A brecha is an overwhelming flowing spring. A man is always looking for expansion. Man is looking to accumulate more, to do more, to get out there. Man always wants more. Whatever we have, we want more, want to accomplish more. We're bracha. What is a female? Nekeva, nakva. Let's set a price. Let's limit it right over here. Lavan does that. We're not going to leave this open-ended. Let's set a price. A female is the nurturer. This is it. Let's take what we have and let's develop it. Right? That's what a mother is. That's what a wife is. We're not looking to expand. We're not looking to be out. We're like, let's communicate. You know, and just build something over here and nurture, like that sort of thing. I think I told you, probably the finest 2 weeks of my life, best 2 weeks of my life, was close to being in Gan Eden, was when my older brother had his first child. So my mother, she should live and be well, she left Chicago to go to Israel for 2 weeks to help out with the newborn baby. The minute she left the house, my dad, my younger brother, and myself, the minute she left the house, the TV came out on the kitchen table, Sports Illustrated, the sporting news. We looked like the ESPN newsroom. There was zero communication between the three of us over the next 2 weeks, other than sitting at the supper table and, you know, one was reading, one's watching the football game. All the only spoken words were meat, potatoes, ugh, you know, in a trade, and that was it for 2 weeks. It was unbelievable, right? And the minute mom comes home, so it's like, you know, no TV, chas v'sholom on the day, no football game, no nothing. We're going to sit around and communicate. Right? Let's communicate. That's the building and the nurturing. That's nakva. Let's set a price. Let's what do you call it? Oh, you should see my dad in a panic. You know, about an hour before my mom was due to get home. Oh, that man was in a panic. You know, like, get this thing out of here. I'll put it away, move it out, clean it out, just stuff it under the bed, will you? You know, that was the, you know, just get it. That was, so Nekeva, Lavan says, and that's in the relationship why you need both. Because men who don't have the counterbalance are out of control. They end up with Ponzi schemes, trying to expand. And Nakva is the wife who puts that limitation. But too much limitation is also good because then nobody accomplishes anything. So you need that, and you see that in the Gemara when it says, remember in the Pesach Haggadah, when it says that they came to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, said, Harei ani kiven shivim shana. It's as if I'm 70 years old. How old was he at the time? He was 18. And at 18 years old, they needed the head of the Sanhedrin. So the Gedolei Ador came to him because they had deposed Rabban Gamliel. They came to him and asked him to be the head of the Sanhedrin.
What do you mean deposed?
So he said, deposed means they took him down. Rabban Gamliel was removed from the position, and they put Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah in the position. Okay, so the Gemara in Bracha says they made him an offer. We want you to be the head of the Sanhedrin. He's 18 years old, and you got the Gedolei Ador telling you, we want you to be the head of the Sanhedrin. What would your reaction? Most people would say, yeah, wow, really? Yeah. What was his reaction? Ezel ve'inshi basic. I have to consult with my wife. How old do you think his wife was if he was 18? How old do you think his wife was? Right, probably just had her sweet 16. Now she's going to make the decision compared to the Sanhedrin. So what does she do? He comes and says, you know, they asked me to be the head of the Sanhedrin. She says, yeah, but you don't have any gray in your beard. Right? So a miracle took place and he had 18 streaks of gray. That says Kiven Shivim Shana. He looked like he was 70 years old. She says, yeah, but eventually they're gonna depose you. So he said to her, yeah, well, you make use of it while you got it. But what was her reaction? What's her first reaction? Like kind of a pullback. Her first reaction is why it shouldn't work, what the problem is. You need that counterbalance. Because if you don't have that counterbalance, it's completely out of control. Then it goes, men go out of control. That's the two of them. Now I'm going to tell you one last point here. And this is one of the most, I heard this maybe 45 years ago, I think. I heard this idea. And it's phenomenal. And it's so real. Take a look at page 160. Yaakov Avinu goes and he becomes very prosperous. And there's a bit of resentment here. So on page 160, right in the middle of the page there, Perek Lamed Aleph, Pasuk Aleph. Now watch this, gentlemen. Vayishma es divrei b'nei Lavan lemor. Yaakov hears, after he gets very wealthy, he hears murmurings. And the sons of Lavan say, Lokach Yaakov es kol asher le'avinu. Yaakov took everything that belonged to our father. Ume asher le'avinu asa es kol hakavod hazeh. All of this prosperity came from our stuff. I mean, this is after they made a deal fair and square, and the Medrash says that Lavan changed the conditions 100 times. And at the end of the day, when Yaakov wins, now they're crying fair, they're crying foul. And they got a problem. And then it says, Vayar Yaakov es penei Lavan. Yaakov sees Lavan's face. It's not like it used to be. When he first arrived, Lavan was smiling, all smiles and greeting, and now Lavan's always got a frown. So at that point, Yaakov decides time. Hashem says to Yaakov, it's time to leave. Yaakov decides to leave. I heard like this. What does it mean that Lavan's face? Vayar Yaakov es penei Lavan v'nei neno imako. What does it mean he saw Lavan's face and it's not the same? So the plain meaning is that Lavan, when he first came, was all smiles and friendly, and now he doesn't look so happy. The idea is, and this has happened to everything, did it ever happen to you in life that you said to yourself, I would never do that, I would never drink that, I would never snort that, I would never smoke that, I would never wear that, I would never do that, I would never go there, I would never... And then one day you find yourself doing it. Right? Happens to everybody. It's happened to everybody at something with some level. What changed? What changed? Well, when you were thinking rationally, you realize I would never inject that. And then one day you are. Now what changed? What changed is that you changed. The objective reality didn't change. The thing is poisonous, or it's dangerous, or it's illegal, or it's whatever. When Yaakov Avinu first arrived, he takes one look at Lavan's face, and what does he see? That guy's a schnook, a lowlife, the worst piece of dreck you could find. All of a sudden, 20 years later, Lavan's face doesn't look the same. He doesn't look so bad anymore. Time to leave. Time to leave, because Lavan certainly didn't change. The only thing that could change is me. If you take a look at it, it doesn't look so bad like you originally did. So who's been influenced by what? And so Yaakov Avinu, I don't know that it literally happened to him. But if the Torah writes it, it's a lesson for us that it could happen to a person. If it doesn't look, and that's why it's always dangerous, if we put ourselves in a certain... I remember a guy telling me he went to college, and he made up his mind before he went to college, I will not be influenced by the lack of any discipline that there are at the college campuses. I'm going to be strong and I'm going to maintain. He told me within 3 months he was an unrecognizable animal, right? Because he'd been influenced by it. And if a person sees that the thing that I knew at one point in life that was wrong, and now I'm looking at it and it doesn't look so bad anymore, chances are that what happened, not that the things change. Now, it could be things change. Could be. But most of the time, it's not the thing that changes. Most of the time, it's us that change. At that point, it's time to go. Okay.